The movie kicks off with Stanley Hill, a family guy, coming back from a job interview. His wife, Vivian, is at the airport, smiling. They hug, and she asks if he got the job. He's not sure. At their car, they notice a flat tire. Stanley sighs and starts changing it. A beggar asks for cash. Stanley, busy with the tire, tries to brush him off, but the beggar gets aggressive. He slams Stanley's head on the car, knocking him out. Then he stabs Vivian with a knife. Other guys appear from nowhere, kicking Stanley and grabbing Vivian's purse before running off. Stanley wakes up with a headache and sees his wife on the ground. She's gone. Later, Stanley's in an interrogation room. Detective Gilmore, in a cold tone, questions him. Then, Detective Walker asks about Stanley's relationship with Vivian, wondering if they had problems. Stanley, still upset, gets mad at the detective's question. Days pass, and at Vivian's funeral, Stanley's there early, standing by the casket. His daughter, Abby, joins him. She tells him how much her mom wanted him to come back, making the attack even more sad. Stanley leaves as the church fills up, unable to handle the sympathy. A priest stops him, offering a Bible. Stanley says he doesn't pray and is only there for Vivian. The priest insists, so Stanley takes the book and leaves. Reporters surround Governor Meserve, asking about the murder. He says he's praying for the family, but quickly uses Vivian's death to push for action and promise quick justice. Stanley watches the news at home, drinking and getting angrier. He knocks the Bible off the table in frustration. Picking it up, it opens to a verse about anger. The words hit him hard. Abby calls, checking on him. He says he's fine, but when she asks him not to blame himself, he can't answer. He hangs up, unable to promise. A few days later, the detectives call Stanley back. They show him a lineup. Stanley points out the killer right away. The police ask if he's sure, and he says yes every time. He leaves, thinking justice will be served. But he sees the killer being released on bail. He confronts the cops, not able to believe it. They tell him there's not enough proof to hold him. Stanley, mad and betrayed, leaves. Inside, the officers talk quietly, saying the suspect is part of Lemmy K's gang, and they've been told to stop the investigation. Stanley meets Abby at a coffee shop and tells her the police let her mother's killer go free. He's mad, knowing the city's justice system is a joke. Abby's angry, but he says no, and leaves. Back home, he's alone with his sadness. He looks at his closet, remembering Vivian's words about the person he used to be and how he changed for her. He leaves the house and goes to the parking garage where Vivian was killed. He looks for the killer. Seeing the man, he goes home and breaks open a wall in his closet. He has weapons, passports, and money hidden there. He grabs a suitcase of bullets and calls Dennis, an old work friend. Stanley asks Dennis for names and goes to his barbershop the next day. Dennis attacks, thinking Stanley is a threat, but Stanley fights back. As Dennis cuts his hair, they talk about the old times, but Dennis tells Stanley not to get revenge. They argue, but Dennis gives him a file with info on Vivian's killer and his friends. Stanley sees the name and tells Dennis he's part of it now. That night, Stanley goes to a bar to find Nathan, one of the targets. He sees Nathan flirting with a woman, giving her Vivian's stolen purse. Nathan sees Stanley and smashes a glass to get his attention. Realizing who Stanley is, Nathan runs out the back. Stanley follows him into the alley. Nathan comes up behind him and attacks, but Stanley quickly disarms him with some quick, brutal martial arts moves. He asks Nathan if Vivian was targeted just for her purse. Nathan says it was more than a robbery, but won't say anything else. Stanley demands to know where Charlie Law is, the guy who stabbed Vivian. Nathan makes fun of him. Then, suddenly, Dennis appears, having shot Nathan. He helps Stanley hide the body. In the car, Stanley asks Dennis why he's helping. Dennis says he's been watching Stanley since the murder, knowing he'd reach out. They look through Nathan's broken phone and drugs. At a strip club, the lackey shows the photo of Nathan's death to Lemmy K. Lemmy is mad his man didn't step in. He cuts off the lackey's finger and orders his gang to hunt down Dennis and Stanley and kill their families. Days go by. Stanley meets Abby at a restaurant. She's glad to see him eating and doing better. He tells her that a friend is helping him and that the thugs in town will be gone soon. During their time together, Stanley gets a text from Dennis. Stanley leaves suddenly and goes to Dennis's shop. Dennis takes him to the basement, showing an arsenal. Stanley asks about the info on Nathan's phone, but Dennis says it will take time to get it back. They spend time at a shooting range to get Stanley's skills back. Afterward, Dennis asks what Stanley will do when the killers are dead. Stanley says he wants to disappear. Suddenly, the broken phone turns on. They trace a call to a man named Lars. When they call back, someone else answers. They ask to talk to Charlie, but the man hangs up. Stanley tells Dennis he's always wanted a tattoo and goes to a tattoo shop mentioned in the phone's info. Meanwhile, the cops meet one of Lemmy K's men, who tells them the boss wants a meeting. At the strip club, Lemmy reminds the cops that they are on his payroll. He shows them a video of Governor Meserve's son overdosing and uses it to blackmail them. He wants them to find the ones hunting his men. Stanley gets to Lars's tattoo shop, but finds someone else working there. The man secretly texts Lars while tattooing Stanley. Lars replies, telling him to stall Stanley. Dennis goes back to his shop to find it trashed. Charlie and two thugs are waiting for him. They want to know Stanley's name, but Dennis fights them off, getting hurt in the process. Charlie gets away. Back at the tattoo shop, Lars gets there and takes over. He asks Stanley about his family, and Stanley tries to ask about Charlie. Lars pulls a gun, but Stanley disarms him and beats him. Lars, scared, tells him Charlie's address. Stanley kills him, takes the money he finds, and tells Dennis. They get rid of the bodies at a junkyard. Stanley says the missing money will draw attention. That night, Stanley drinks alone, remembering Vivian. The next day, he goes to church, praying for what to do. The priest sits with him. Stanley asks if losing Vivian is what he deserves for his past sins. The priest shows him a picture of the thief being crucified next to Christ, saying anyone can be saved, even at the end. Stanley is touched and tells his sins. Abby goes to her parents' house with her husband, Mike, to pack Vivian's things. She finds Stanley's hidden guns and a hit list. As they load the car, Charlie drives by and shoots at them, leading to a crash. Stanley arrives, finding Abby safe, but Mike shot in the shoulder. Abby confronts her dad about the list, knowing she's a target now. Stanley tries to calm her. Somewhere else, Detective Gilmore tells Governor Meserve what's going on. The governor asks him to pay people to take care of Stanley, no matter the cost. Lemmy K hears Lars is dead, and the money is gone. He calls Charlie, who says he'll fix it. Stanley tells Charlie to meet him alone if he wants his money back. They plan to meet at the House of Soul Club. Dennis goes to scout. Charlie comes, seeing a man with a bag and thinking it's Stanley. Stanley enters the VIP room. A shootout happens. Stanley uses a bodyguard as a human shield, killing Charlie's men. He corners Charlie, wanting to know who hit Vivian. Charlie says it was Lemmy K, but says it wasn't his doing. Vivian was too nosy. Gunmen enter the club. Dennis says it's time to go. Stanley kills Charlie, and they fight their way out, leaving before the police get there. Later, in Dennis's basement, Dennis says Stanley should stop now that the killers are gone, but Stanley says no. The next day, Abby and her son, Jimmy, pack to leave for a hotel. Stanley looks through Vivian's work files and finds a report showing she had been asked to change numbers for the governor. He listens to her messages, confirming she said no. The reason for her murder is obvious. She told the truth. As Abby gets ready to leave, Lemmy K and his thugs break into her house. Lemmy wants to see Stanley. She goes to the kitchen with a thug following, and Abby stabs him with a kitchen knife. Lemmy shoots at her, but Mike tackles him, taking a bullet. Lemmy tells her to get Stanley there. She texts her father a message. Stanley thinks something is not right because she never texts and used the wrong name for her son. He gets his guns and rushes to her house, sending the address to Dennis. Stanley gets there and looks around the house. He breaks in through the basement. He shoots the thug guarding the kitchen. Lemmy appears holding Abby. He tells Stanley to drop his gun. Stanley does, but tells Lemmy he's going to kill him. Stanley moves, and Dennis, outside, shoots Lemmy in the shoulder. Another thug sees Dennis and shoots him. Inside, Stanley attacks Lemmy, freeing Abby and telling her to run. Outside, Dennis kills the thug who shot him. Stanley asks Lemmy who's in charge. Lemmy says it goes to the governor. Before he can say more, Detective Gilmore enters and tries to arrest Stanley, but Detective Walker appears. Dennis knocks Walker out. Gilmore asks for mercy. They handcuff him and make him drive them to the governor's place. On the way, Gilmore tells everything. He protected Lemmy because of the video on Governor's son. As they get closer to the place, Stanley makes Gilmore hide his handcuffs. Gilmore tries to talk to the guards, but Stanley knocks him out. When Gilmore wakes up, the guards are dead. He sees the car is going to explode. He tries to get out, but is trapped. Walker, locked in the trunk, escapes seconds before the car blows up, killing Gilmore. Stanley storms the mansion, killing the guards. He confronts Governor Meserve in his office. Meserve shoots Stanley, disarming him. He tells Stanley he killed Vivian because she wouldn't cover up his actions. Stanley pushes the gun away and stabs the governor with a knife. As Meserve dies, he asks who Stanley is. Stanley says, "I am Wrath." He walks out to find the police surrounding him. He raises his empty gun, making them shoot. Stanley wakes up in a hospital days later. The police won't let Abby see him, saying he's been arrested. She pushes past them, hugging her father and slipping a gun into his hand under the sheets. Later, Detective Walker enters the room as an officer, wanting to kill Stanley. Stanley shows the gun and shoots Walker. Dennis comes out from behind a curtain, dressed as a doctor. He says he fired the shot, and they argue. Dennis gives Stanley clothes and says they have 3 minutes to leave. They wheel out of the hospital and go to Sao Paulo. Months later, Abby gets a letter from her father. He is safe and watching them from far away.